What if I told you that a single act of sacrifice could change a life forever? What if I told you that one man's quiet kindness, done when no one was watching, was witnessed by the right pair of eyes? Stay with me until the end of this story, because what happened next will remind you that miracles often come when we least expect them. And if stories of hope and second chances touch your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a little light today. It was a cold evening in a small town, and James, a single dad veteran, had just finished his shift at the mechanic shop. He was tired, his boots heavy with the weight of another long day. Life hadn't been easy since he returned from service. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him alone to raise his daughter, Emily, and to carry the scars, both seen and unseen, from the battles he fought overseas. Money was always short, bills piled up like shadows, but James never complained. His strength was not just in his muscles, but in his heart. That evening, as he walked home with his daughter, they passed by a small diner. The smell of fresh bread and warm stew filled the air. Emily's eyes lingered on the steaming plates through the window. James had only a few dollars in his pocket, barely enough for one meal. He could have walked past, pretending not to notice. But instead, he pushed open the door, led Emily inside, and sat at a table in the corner. As they waited, James noticed 5 children at another table. Their clothes were worn, their shoes too small, and their eyes told a story of hunger. They sat in silence, clutching a torn paper bag that held only half a loaf of bread. Their mother was nowhere in sight. The waitress shook her head gently when they tried to order. They had no money. James's heart ached. He looked at Emily, then at the kids. He knew the choice he had to make. When the waitress arrived, he whispered to her, "Bring the kids my meal. Just bring a glass of water for me." Emily frowned, "But, Daddy, you need to eat." James smiled softly, patting her hand. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll share later. Tonight, they need it more than we do." The waitress nodded with tears in her eyes. Moments later, the children's faces lit up as steaming plates of stew were placed in front of them. They dug in hungrily, laughter breaking through the silence of their hunger. James watched quietly, his stomach empty but his soul full. Emily leaned her head on his arm, whispering, "You're the best, Daddy." What James didn't know was that someone else had been watching. At the far end of the diner, a woman in an elegant coat and quiet grace had observed everything. She had slipped in unnoticed, her eyes sharp, her heart heavy with her own loneliness. She was Evelyn Harper, a billionaire, though no one in that diner knew it. To the world, she was powerful and untouchable. But to herself, she was just a woman searching for meaning, aching for connection beyond her wealth. That night, she found it in James's simple act of selflessness. The next morning, James was at home fixing Emily's school shoes with glue, trying to stretch one more week out of them. A knock echoed at the door. He wiped his hands and opened it, only to freeze in surprise. Evelyn Harper stood there, her chauffeur waiting in a sleek black car behind her. She held a warm smile and a basket of food in her arms. "Mr. James?" she asked softly. "Yes, ma'am. Can I help you?" he replied, puzzled. "I was at the diner last night. I saw what you did for those children. You gave up your own meal to feed strangers. That kind of kindness is rare." James shifted uncomfortably, not knowing what to say. "They were hungry. I just did what anyone would do." "But not everyone would," Evelyn replied. "And that's why I'm here." She stepped forward, her eyes moist. "You gave when you had little. Let me give when I have plenty." She handed him the basket. Inside was not just food but an envelope. James hesitated, opening it to find documents, scholarship papers for Emily, a check to cover his debts, and an offer for a new job at one of her companies, managing a veteran support program. His hands trembled, and tears stung his eyes. "I can't accept this," he whispered. "You can," Evelyn said firmly, touching his arm. "Because people like you deserve it. You fought for this country, and you're still fighting, for your daughter, for strangers. Let someone fight for you now." Emily ran to her father, clutching his leg. "Daddy, is this real?" James knelt, hugging her tightly. His voice broke, "Yes, baby. It's real." That night, as James tucked Emily into bed, he sat quietly in the living room, reflecting. He had always believed he had to carry the weight of the world alone. But that knock on the door reminded him that kindness does not vanish, it circles back, often when you least expect it. And so, the story of a single dad veteran sacrificing his meal for hungry children turned into something much larger. Proof that even the smallest acts of love ripple outward, reaching hearts that can change the world. So if this story touched you, let it remind you of this: no act of kindness is ever wasted. If you believe in the power of compassion, in the miracles that come from giving, then like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others. Because sometimes, the world needs your light, your story, your kindness, to inspire the next miracle.